Shut up and sit down.
Got nothing here. You're giving me baseball and hockey, and I got my keister blowing in the wind. That made to look like a fool here.
Life is better on a bicycle. Life is better on a bike. When you push the pedal and go down the hill, then everything is alright.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von During. Tommy Godwin, an English long-distance cyclist, once said riding a bike is everything to a cyclist. The friendship and camaraderie you have with other cyclists, to a cyclist, is the be-all and end-all of your life. Preach on, brother.
Okay, you're riding your bike down the hill. The sun is shining. The wind is blowing in your hair. You see a red light up ahead, so you must stop.
Everybody's looking at my tight pants. Got my tight pants. Got my tight pants on.
Carry on. Life is better on a bicycle. Now I think that I might get a bell on the front that goes ring, ring. That's the type of bike that I like. With a bell on the front that goes ring, ring. That's the type of bike that I like.
I'm spinning like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm flying cloud nine, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm riding solo, I'm riding solo.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von During, and today I'm here with nobody. I'm sitting solo by myself in the studio, and I don't know if you guys really want to listen to me ramble on. So on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with the guys. They are all on their own respective little trips for family time, for family adventures, and for racing and whatnot. So let's connect with those guys with Skype. But before we do, just a little heads up, we're not going to really do a back pedal today. Yay. You guys are probably happy about that because we can ramble on that quite a bit. And that's another thing. Are those too long? Let us know. If you guys want us to tighten that up a little bit, maybe give you a little bit more show content, or maybe just make it a shorter episode altogether. That would be something that we'd be fully willing to do. We just want to hear from you guys. Let us know if it's too much. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give the guys a call. I've got some questions lined up for them. We'll call it like kind of a little quasi hot seat, but it's more of just to kind of get to know the guys a little bit more and get some more feedback from them and maybe give you a little slight glimpse into the future of the Dialed Podcast. Real quick on the podcast, our mission there really, when we first got started, was just to be a place where we could come and sit down with each other every single week because it was stuff that we were already doing. If nothing else, it really got us out of the hair of our wives and girlfriends and significant others, if you will, and got us to shut up around them because all we want to do is talk about bikes and triathlon and racing and all the fun stuff that we talk about. So it was a place for us to come and talk. Once we kind of figured out, hey, we really think we're going to do this and we want to start putting some information out there. We wanted it to be somewhat educational, somewhat fun. We wanted to help build community. That's big for us, all of us. We wanted it to be entertaining for you guys. We want it to be something that we would want to listen to. So hopefully it's something that you guys enjoy. And if nothing else, it'd be entertaining for us at least. And we wanted you guys to learn. And in that same breath, we wanted to learn ourselves. So this is really a great opportunity for us to go out there and kind of push the envelope on some new things and learn some stuff that we didn't necessarily know or didn't have a firm grip on, and bring that back to you guys and have us roundtable discuss it and just try and really break it down so we can get a real firm grasp on it. And hopefully you guys are learning something along the way as well. On that note, I'm going to shut up here and cut to the chase and get these guys on the phone, because as much as I'm tired of sitting here at the table alone, I'm sure you guys are plenty tired of listening to me blabber on about all kinds of minutia here. So let's reach out to Matt and see what he's up to.
Hello, this is Matt.
Mr. Matt Legrand, how are you?
What is happening?
Or better yet, what's up, ladies and gentlemen?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? How are you guys doing?
They're doing good. It's kind of crickets here today, but it's all good.
Yeah, I can't believe everyone's out of studio.
Yeah, it's the first time, but it's actually kind of cool. Matt, where in the world are you?
I am in Ionia, Michigan. So Ionia, Michigan is most well known for its prisons, but it's actually a pretty beautiful place. Lots of farmland, lots of country, lots of wide open spaces. And so, it's a good place to come for vacation, and it's beautiful in the summertime. So
Nice.
I'm here visiting my in-laws. My wife's family is here. My wife grew up here. And it's a pretty mellow place to hang out. So
Sweet.
It's good.
You guys have any fun things planned?
We don't have a lot of stuff planned. We, basically hang out at the pool, every day. And then we grill out and cook in the evening. And it's kind of low stress.
I know you're still recovering from your shoulder, but are you able to get any exercise in while you're out there?
There is actually good running to do on dirt roads. I mean, so we're way out in the sticks. And so, you're running on gravel roads, you're running on dirt roads and things like that. And yesterday I did a 4-miler with my wife, which was awesome. And yep. And then today I did a 4-miler by myself.
How'd that feel on the shoulder?
It was really good. It hurts a little bit because of the bouncing or whatever. But, I think it's it just kind of feels like it just feels good to go run, right? Like I always think about this with the podcast where it's a cycling podcast and we all like live to cycle, and I almost feel like I'm the oddball where I'm like, you know what, I'm the guy that's like, I live to run. And so when I get the chance to do these relatively, I wouldn't say pain-free, but like low stress runs, and I get to be able to do the sport that I grew up doing and love doing, it's just so wonderful. So The rest of the day you're just kind of on cloud 9, right, where you're just like, yes, thank goodness I got a good run in. So
Gotcha. Hey, are you getting any footage out there for your YouTube channel?
Well, yes. I'm here's what I'm thinking. I've got to come. So here's the hard part with having these YouTube channels and things like that is like you get, you have plenty of opportunities to get beautiful footage, but how do you tell a story with that people either, that's educational, that they can take some sort of learning process from, or something like you kind of have to tie the footage into a story, or take the story and then build footage around it.
Yeah.
And so, and those are things that I'm not that good at. Like it's stuff that I see as a flaw with my videos, and it's something I really want to work on. And so the concept for this video is, or one of the concepts would be like, what do you do when your triathlon season is over? And so typically for triathletes, we have this kind of like summer season, and it really can go into, September, World Championships in October. But usually, sometime in that September, October timeframe, you get a lot of people that are extremely excited about this sport because they just did their first season or second season, and they've done great and they're getting better. And then, bam, the season's over. They don't have any races to do, and it's kind of like, what do you do when your season is over? And so, the concept for this video that I will eventually put out will be, what do you do when your season's over? And it's the perfect time for family time, perfect time for vacation, perfect time to do nothing at all. Perfect time to like go run dirt roads or get lost or whatever it is. And it's some of the same stuff that we've talked about on this podcast before, right? Where it's like, go find a road that you've never biked before. Like these are the perfect times to do that. And I think it's one of those things that people need to, when they're asking themselves, what do I do now that triathlon season's over? Well, here you go. This is what you're supposed to do. So, I can put together a little bit of footage. I still need to kind of mold the story. Obviously I'm rambling because I don't know what the story is yet, but those are all ideas that I need to kind of put down. And I won't even post that video probably for a month or so because, I think it'll be better timing to post it kind of, September, October timeframe.
Gotcha. Do you already have something in the can that we will see this week?
Yes. I have a video coming out potentially with this podcast on Wednesday.
Sweet.
I posted a brief clip to Instagram today. And actually, so this is the great part about talking to you, Jake, because I feel like you have a very good mind of like videos and things like that and how you can put this stuff together. I made this, this idea of like, I had a video last week and it was like, 5 reasons why every triathlete should do an Ironman race or something like that. And I did that video on purpose because this video I knew coming out was going to be the opposite, basically, like why every athlete should skip an Ironman race in favor of their local triathlon and really just bash Ironman. the company, lay into them and be like, yeah, their customer service is horrible, blah, blah, blah. I didn't, it's not exactly what I say in the video, but then I had this idea of like, what if someone took a Ironman kids medal and like filed it down into an Ironman medal and was just like, hey, yeah, this, instead of spending $700 for a race, they spend $20 for the race. And so I made this little, like, it's really short. It's like a 1-minute video. And it's like this, it's me like cranky, and I've got the kids medal that I stole from some kid, and I make it into a different Ironman. And so the idea was good. It was kind of funny. And the execution was okay. But it didn't feel like it told the whole story. And so I almost sent it to you guys to say, oh, I think it's funny, but it's not quite, it doesn't quite give you the whole story. Anyway, I showed it to my wife. She thought it was funny enough. So I did end up dropping it in this video that's kind of like 6 reasons why you should do your local race instead of an Ironman race. And the beginning of it is, me kind of trying to file down this medal and make it a kid's medal into an Ironman medal. So that will come out Wednesday with this podcast.
Gotcha.
Or that's my goal, is to get that, out either tonight or tomorrow, probably.
So if Evan was sitting here right now, he'd be saying, "What you sipping, Matt?" Sounded like you just cracked open a LaCroix or something like that.
Man, the audio quality is better than I thought.
Told you.
This is a key lime LaCroix sparkling water.
Nice.
And I thought it would be important to be sipping on some sort of sparkling water while we bust out the Dialed podcast, because we don't want to let our sponsors down, our sponsorships.
Got a LaCroix pineapple strawberry sitting right in front of me as well. So, back to the YouTube channel. I do want to pay a little bit of props to you, or like give you some props for letting your personality come out a little bit more and shine. I really, truly, sincerely enjoy the comedy bits that are starting to pop up in your videos more frequently, and I really want to employ you to do more of that stuff, because
do more.
It's awesome.
It's tough because it's like, so I think when we do podcasts and we're just chatting and we joke around all, the 4 of us together in a room, it's absolutely hilarious, in my opinion.
Yeah. Others might disagree, but yeah.
people might think that we're stupid. I don't care. But like, I actually think that stuff is hilarious. When you make a video and you're filming yourself and blah, 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 it does come off more scripted, like scripted comedy. And I don't think it's as natural. And so, I really feel like 9 times out of 10 that I should just cut a lot of the stuff out. Like, I really, I made the medal thing, where like, and the idea is funny, where it's like, oh, guy takes a kid's medal and makes it into the idea is funny, but it's just like, it doesn't look like it, I really made a medal from this one to that one. It's just not that funny, and it's scripted too. So you're just like,
yeah,
come on. Just get to the point of the video. Well, and then the other problem with that is like, if someone clicks on a video of like why you should race, 6 reasons why you shouldn't race Ironman, they really want to get to the content of the video. And if if you're posting this super long introduction, it may or may not be funny. And you've spent you spent a minute and a half or 2 minutes now waiting for the content of the video. And so I think it's a tricky balance. And so I kind of always go back and forth, like, this is too much or whatever it is. But
totally agree with you. You don't want to front load it with too much of that. But if you sprinkle it in along the way, I think that would be very well received.
It's fine. Yeah. And so when you watch the video that'll come out, tonight or tomorrow, you'll tell like, oh yeah, Matt's right. Like there's basically almost 2 minutes before you get to the first reason why you should race local instead of race an Ironman race or something like that. I don't remember the exact amount of time, but it's at least a minute and a half or something like that, which is just way too long before you get to the meat of the actual video. And so I something I need to work on for sure. And I think, you don't want to just, and honestly, when you see like videos, people, they want to kind of get to it and they don't want to kind of sit around and putz around for a while before they get to the reason they clicked on the video. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, another cool thing is I know that the triathlon in the YouTube sphere is kind of a niche thing. Like there's not like a huge amount of people that are doing stuff out there with like millions upon millions of followers. You've got your triathlon Terran. He's probably not even to 100,000 followers on there, right? Correct?
Yeah. That sounds right.
So that's probably like one of your big dogs out there. So to be in that number, that's good. You're slowly but surely inching, not closer to him yet, but I just feel like you're a powder keg about ready to explode. And I noticed that you just went over 700 followers, and I think people are starting to come to realize that you're doing a good job out there, and you put out good content. And what I love about you is that you are always willing to share information, and you're trying to help people along, and you're trying to, further propagate the sport and get more people interested in it. And I think you're doing a great job with that. I think you're teaching a lot of people a lot of great stuff. So good job, Matt.
Yeah, I one of the things that I've really tried to do is like go on YouTube and like encourage other people to do what I'm doing, which is, trying to basically talk about the sport, pass on information to other athletes, because I don't have all the answers, obviously, and I think that's been really good. The other thing that's been, not to my own horn, but like people have come to my channel and they've said stuff like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you only have whatever, 700 subscribers."
Yeah.
And so it does, I agree. Like, I feel like, people, when they make it over to the channel, it's pretty well received, for the most part. You're always going to have people bash you or whatever,
Sure.
trolls or whatever, love to say mean things, which is fine. Like, I don't, I can handle it. But for the most part, I have like the best people that subscribe to my channels. It's almost like I'll post a video and I'll immediately have, 5 to 10 people that like the video, comment on stuff. And I'm just like, these are the nicest people.
Yeah.
They are, and one of the good things is, and another reason that I would encourage other people to kind of start doing this is when you start up, things start up super slow. I mean, at least that's the way it was for me. Your first 100 subscribers just take forever to get there. And that's not the case for everyone, but it was for me. But the people are fantastic. And you can get to, like, with 100 people, you can know all of your subscribers. To me, that's like the coolest thing ever, is like these people think, highly enough of your videos that they're willing to, subscribe or be notified when you post a video or all these things. It's like, wow, that's super cool. And they're just good people. Like, one of the cool things that I've been able to do with a smaller group is just like, hey, do you want some triathlon stickers? I can mail them to you. Like,
Yeah.
It's just such a small, cool community.
Yep.
That I'm pretty pumped about it at this point. And so far, it's pretty much, I would say, almost 100% positive.
Yep.
Even sometimes when someone will post something negative, they'll even come back later and be like, oh, I wasn't thinking when I posted that, and your content, the production value is really high, and all this really nice stuff that they'll say about the videos and stuff like that. So I love it.
Keyword you just said there was production value. The videos that you post up are beautiful. You do such a great job. You've got a really good eye for like the cinematography behind the stuff that you're doing. So not only is it good information, but it's aesthetically pleasing to look at. So good job, Matt.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that I am kind of passionate about, I think, a little bit. And I think, Jake, you probably are the same way, which I think, makes it fun for us to chat. But I've noticed that if I go back and I look at videos from a year ago, it's like you see that I'm trying to do a good job,
but
and I'm just not there.
You're learning
and
the
I
process,
know I can tell I'm better now. And then I can still see problems with the stuff that I post now. And it's like, I'm just going to completely guess, like, I'm hoping that a year from now that I can be where I want to be with the production quality. And so it's like, I can see where I came from, and I'm so much better. And I can tell that it's going to get better, because the stuff that I want to do, and this is just like learning from, watching other videos or people that I respect in the industry, and so it's like, I know I can get there, or I can get close. And so it's fun. It's super enjoyable. It's kind of an obsession for sure.
Well, you're not going to get better if you're not out there.
I want other people on board for sure doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're not going to get better if you're not out there making new content. And each time you put out a video, I'm sure you're getting a little bit more refined. It would almost be kind of funny, though, to have you go back and look at some of maybe your first 5 or 10 videos and go back and revisit them, redo them, if you will, and kind of
and just be like,
crush the old Matt Legrand. Yeah, that could be fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's hard because it's like some of it's bad because you're just the cut of the video, like where you cut the video is just not that good or whatever it is. So, they're wrong for a lot of different reasons. So, but yeah, I definitely, and that's definitely something I'm going to do, just because I think some of the topics, right? So for example, in October, we'll have the World Championship, the Kona edition or whatever.
Sure.
And last October, I did a video, where I give my predictions for the top podium people.
Yep.
I'm going to do that video again, obviously. I'm going to do that probably every year. And I think there'll be a couple of videos where I just revisit kind of yearly. And it would be funny to compare years past or whatever.
For sure.
I don't think that they'll be that much better in some ways, but some videos might be. So who knows?
Gotcha. Not to perseverate on your YouTube channel, but real quick, what are some of your goals with the YouTube channel?
I think the main goal is to just disseminate as much information as possible. I would say, like, if you were like, hey, what's the elevator pitch for the YouTube channel? It'd be, educate, inspire, and that's really, one of those things where it's like, okay, pay attention to the quality of the videos, pay attention to the educational material, just so it's kind of like I can learn along the process while I'm kind of educating as well. And really it's like, well, if I don't ever do another triathlon in my entire life, I never put my foot over the bike again, like, what have I learned, about these things that I can pass on, in case I don't ever do something again, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, that was the original idea behind the channel. And I think that's kind of the point of it all, is just like, hey, make sure that information's out there so that everyone can pick up on it and roll with it.
Gotcha.
And so, and so that's one of the ideas for sure. And I don't know, I mean, yeah, I think some of the production value is good. And I still have some ideas too, but like the whole like motivational piece, a lot of times like you watch a video and you can barely make it through the video because it's so inspiring. You just want to like turn the computer off and go ride the bike,
Yep.
Or go out and run on the trails or whatever it is. And so I'm not sure I've kind of hit the nail on the head as far as that goes. But I'm, it's on my hit list of things to try for, with a couple of videos coming up. So
Gotcha.
I have a video that I want to do that's basically, it's going to be called, should triathletes run trails? And, I'll go through a whole bunch of reasons why triathletes shouldn't run trails, but like, obviously the final message is going to be like, hell yeah, you should get out there. And that one, the whole point is just going to be like, it should be motivational. It should be kind of cinema, I would say like cinema quality kind of trail stuff where you kind of are inspired to go out and do, just because the ultimate message is like, yeah, go out there because it's beautiful. Like that's the reason to do it. And I have some other ideas for biking as well that I'm going to get your help with, Jake, because
Sure.
I have some ideas for some bike type, similar kind of stuff where it's just like, should you go out and bike? Yes, you should. It's too beautiful out there not to do it. So
For sure. All right. Here's another one for you. Do you want your kids, you've got three young boys, do you want them to follow in your footsteps with respect to running and triathlon?
I would love my kid. That's a good question. I would love my kids to get into running and swimming. Cycling, I think will be safer. And I've probably mentioned this on the podcast. I think we're on episode 78 or something like that. We've done a lot of podcasts, so a lot of random thoughts have gone out there. But in my opinion, this is one of these weird things where I think cycling may be in its most dangerous point ever, where 20 years ago, people weren't distracted by their cell phones while they were driving. And today they are. And so that worries me every day. Every time I go out on the bike ride, I worry about, someone being on a cell phone and not paying attention to the road and just absolutely whacking one of us. And for my kids, that is a big fear. And I think, and this is just me, completely theorizing, 20 years in the future, that cars may be self-driving, or a large percentage of cars may be self-driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually trust self-driving cars to avoid cyclists better than, grandma on her cell phone. And so personally, I worry that today is the most dangerous time to be a cyclist on the road in our history, in the past, and also our future. And so when I think about, my kids, do I want them to follow my footsteps and do triathlon? The answer is yes. I'm passionate about the sport. I think it's a good sport. I think running is a beautiful sport. It's fantastic. I think swimming is a great sport, very good cardiovascular activity. I think it'll keep people healthy for a long time. Cycling is my one thing that I fear, both for myself, but also for my kids. And my hope is that when they're into cycling, that things may be getting better as far as safety goes on the road. And I'm not sure I'm doing enough myself to make that, cause, we talk about it on the podcast a lot, but we're also talking to a whole bunch of people that believe the same things that we believe.
Yeah.
And so I want to think, I think there are things that we could do, or steps that we can take to potentially make biking safer in our little, small neck of the woods. And maybe potentially, through the podcast, we could encourage other people to take small steps in their own neck of the woods. And who knows, like maybe we could make cycling safer. Again, maybe small steps, but it's not like self-driving cars or something like that. But, I'm hoping that there are things that we can do in the future to make cycling safer, so that, we can say, yes, we want our kids to be bikers. I know you want, at least I think you want your kids to be cyclists. It's just such an amazing sport.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
I know after your injuries that you've got to be scared.
Oh, so much so. I haven't even been on my road bike since that car almost hit me a week and a half ago. It's been almost 2 weeks now, actually.
That's crazy.
It's just one of those things that just does not sit well with me. And every time I'm driving down the road, I see so many people talking on their phones. I see so many people not paying attention. I'm like, thankfully I'm in a car where I can be protected, as opposed to being out on my bike where I'm just a human being, flesh and bones, sitting on a pile of carbon. There's no way to defend that.
No, there's nothing. I mean,
how about we take
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, how about we take the 20 years from now a step further? We're gonna have autonomous cars, but let's get them flying too. Let's just get them completely off the road. We'll just leave the roads to cyclists.
Let's just leave the roads to cyclists.
We need the Jetsons to be
fantastic.
Here, man. What were you gonna say, Matt? Sorry about that.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we were talking about cars versus bikes, and it doesn't even matter if it's a small car. The car will win every single time.
Yep.
It's just like and we have these battles between cyclists and cars all the time, where the cyclists yelling at the car and the drivers yelling at the cyclists. And I just keep in mind, cyclists, we lose every single time.
Yep.
A car gets angry enough to swerve at us, you lose. You don't, there's no winning that battle.
Exactly.
So you and I have a very good attitude when we're on the road, because we biked a lot together, and we tend to, try to kill them with kindness.
Yep.
And man, that's hard, but I think we do a decent job of it. I like to think that it's more helpful than, but I just don't know. It's such a dismal situation right now, the way things are on the road, at least. So hopefully things get better.
All right,
I can't imagine them getting that much worse.
A few more questions for you, Matt, then I'll let you get back to your family time. This is going to pertain to the podcast. What's a topic that you really want to tackle on the podcast? Anything come to mind?
Well, again, you didn't hit me with the questions in advance.
No, this is like a little quasi hot seat here.
But the great part is I can always lean on, ideas from, either the videos and things like that we've made, or just previous discussions and things like that. And one thing that would be really cool would just be small things that we can do to make cycling safer on the road. And that's just, you and I are talking about this just now. And so, yes, we could all come with 3 ideas or something like that. What can we do? What are small ideas that we could do to make cycling in Camas, Washington, or Southwest Washington? How can we make it just a little bit safer? And I think that would be an interesting topic. I don't know if it would be the real page turner that, honestly, sometimes I think the funnier topics are when we're cranky and we're, we have our witch sessions, or something that rhymes with witch sessions.
Yeah.
Those are sometimes more entertaining. I think that the other ideas, we can always go back to kind of some of these top 10 lists. I think those are super fun, where we start with cycling destinations. Where would we want to go cycle? What would we want to do? And we all kind of talk about some places, maybe even rank stuff, like the number one place that we would want to go.
Yeah.
Those are super fun, because there's a buildup of anticipation for that number one destination. So those are always a couple of things. And I think other things are and a lot of it is I would love to hear from our listeners. What do you guys want to learn? What do you guys want to hear about? Because, well, one, I don't have all the answers, but I learn a lot from listening to the other guys around the table. And so some of these questions that you guys have are great opportunities for me to learn. But we could talk about what are, the top 3 things that you can do as a cyclist to get stronger on the bike, just some basic stuff like that, where it's we talk about intervals and we talk about hill work and we talk about other things where it's like, these are some things that you can do to make yourself stronger on the bike. Because I think a lot of our listeners, at least, are pretty competitive. We probably have a lot of listeners that love just going out and cruising on the road, and that's awesome because we talk about stuff like that a lot. But my gut feeling is that the group that we have is a little bit more on the competitive side. They want to be faster on the bike. And so we may want to, address stuff like that in the future. So those are 3 things that, come to mind.
Those are all great.
If I'm just shooting from the hip.
Sure. What's one thing?
Whatever.
What's one thing that you would love to either add or change about the podcast as it is?
I love our current format. I'm trying to think of what we could change. I don't have a great answer.
Well, I'll let you come
on that one.
We'll come back to that.
You know what?
Go ahead.
I do think that we could shorten it, and we should definitely try to get feedback from listeners on that, because I may be completely wrong. They might actually think that our current format, basically, for those of you guys that are new to our podcast, usually podcasts are about an hour and a half, which is really good if you like to listen to our podcast either for a long drive or a long bike ride. Or in my case, I actually do like long runs and I listen to podcasts. So an hour and a half is actually a very good distance or time frame. But I do think when I originally was thinking about the podcast, I was like, we should aim for an hour, 50 minutes to an hour or something like that, just because, you have, these brief moments where you can kind of get out that information or whatever it is, and you're not investing a massive amount of time while you're waiting for destination number 1, if that's the topic, for example.
Sure.
So I would at least maybe want to ask our listeners, what's the preferred amount of time? Maybe we put out like a poll or something, like, would 1 hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours, each person, like our listeners could vote or something like that, and kind of get some more feedback of what people might think as far as the duration of our podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I've kind of often wondered that as well. And it just seems like that's just a natural thing for us, the natural amount of time. And for me, again, I will always go back and listen to them, just for the sheer fact of wanting to make sure that they sound okay, make sure that everything's flowing okay, and to listen to all the things that I screwed up, everything that I stumbled over, so I can try and finesse that a little bit more for the future. And that hour and a half just seems like a pretty decent chunk of time so that we can, get our information out there. It's not terribly long, but it's also not too short, and it allows us to kind of get what we want across. So, but I would love to hear
noticed
from people
that we can almost go off on any subject matter and go for an hour, or more. It's just like the group tends to, especially with all of us together, we can basically go on and on about any topic. So
I could put a piece of bread. Super fun. I could put a piece of bread on the middle of the table and say, all right, we're going to talk about this piece of bread today. And sure enough, it will come out to an hour and a half every time.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Exactly.
Nice. What has been your favorite show to date? Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
Some of the recent stuff, I liked the performance enhancing drugs episode. I thought that was really good. So that's probably, the one that comes to mind as far as like recently things, going. I would say some of our first shows were good. So if people are going to go back and listen to, some of the shows from the beginning, I think as Lance Romance has come, any of the episodes where all 4 of us are in-house together, I think are all high quality. I think the audio is higher quality. And I think that the camaraderie, and the jovialness, like how we all joke and play off of each other, in my opinions, makes it so much fun to listen to, because you just feel like you're right there with the group, and I find myself laughing like while I'm out running, listening to the podcast, just because the group is so funny together. Yeah. So,
last question on the podcast. If you could get just one guest, any guest to join us on the podcast, who would it be?
Lance Armstrong.
That would be huge.
Well, he's again, like, he's super love it or hate it, but he also, anything like that, it's gonna be, even if you hate him, you would want to listen to that.
It's
podcast.
Polarizing, yeah, exactly.
I think he has a very strong wealth of knowledge about the sport. and I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good to be on the podcast with us. So again, anytime we would, the best thing would be if he would be in studio with us, so that we have, this sort of interaction that I personally think makes for a good show. Because, when we do the Skype versions, like, and I'm not going to bash the version that we're actually doing right now, because it might turn out perfect, but I personally think that the ones where we're in studio are by far the best. And so any special guests, if we can get them in-house, you can get to know someone a little bit better, and I feel like it comes off being a little less sterile. So
yeah. Any questions that you would like me to ask Mr. Lance Romas and Mr. Evan Price?
What questions should you ask Lance? Well, you should ask Lance, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Because Lance is probably, I'm guessing New Mexico or something like that. Who knows where he is? Like, maybe Lance doesn't even know where he is. He's that crazy behind the wheel. I would also ask Lance if he's going to start wearing a helmet when he goes and does these little early morning gravel rides with the dog, because I've been watching his Instagram videos, and they're really good, but I always cringe a little bit because I want him to be wearing a helmet. And let's see, for Evan, I would ask him how his recent race went in Michigan, and I think he will be quite happy to tell you all about it, because he raced well, and I think he really enjoyed the race. And I would ask him if he's going to go back to Traverse City, because he's in Michigan just like I am. He's just 3 hours north of where I am, so I'm not going to see him. But I think he had fun, so I think you'll enjoy having that discussion with him. And then for you, the hardest question is, I saved the hardest question for last. And that is for you, Jake.
Bring it.
When are you going to start your personal YouTube channel?
I'm aiming for October, and there's
October.
There's a reason for that. I'm actually going to have a physical space hopefully opened up here pretty soon. We haven't gotten into that too much. I'm probably going to table it until it's like a done deal, but it's one of those things that's in the process, and once that happens, I'm going to have some help. Gosh, I'm so looking forward to that day, having that key 4-letter word of help, and that will actually free up. It'll free up some time for me to start doing some stuff. I've been kind of writing down ideas, kind of come up with some like storylines and ways that I can integrate some stuff that we work with, and there's so many things that I want to get my hands on to play with, and I want to kind of run it through the paces to see if it's good stuff and put content out there for people and help them make good decisions. I think it's going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that creative outlet, because for me, that's going to be pretty key. So,
yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, and I'll probably have to lean on you a little bit.
Oh, man, I think we're going to have fun doing stuff together. So
show me a few tricks. So cool. Well, on that note, Matt, I think we're going to let you go unless you've got any other questions for me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in. Thanks for putting all this together. I know it's a lot of work.
Any parting words for Lance and Matt? You want to talk a little smack before we let you go?
For Lance and Evan. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lance and Evan. I said Matt. There we go again.
Yeah. If you drop in my audio segment first, then it's really going to make those guys look poor, just because, the quality of my, I guess, ideas and just, the quickness of the answering of the questions, it's just going to make Evan and Lance just look so bad. You may want to put those guys first. I don't know. You'll have to edit it together and see how it looks. But yeah, high quality stuff coming from here in Ionia, Michigan, for sure.
High quality. And you will be back next Monday, correct?
Oh, I fly in on Monday, and
Yep.
I actually think I think my flight gets in at 11. And so if we potentially could have in studio a bit of podcast, depending on if we're able to push the podcast back, just a little bit or whatever it is. But yeah, I think I'll be in studio, hopefully.
Yeah. You know what? That's Labor Day. If it works out all right for you guys, what we've done before on holidays when we've recorded is just do it in the evening. I'm perfectly open to that. So that could be fun.
Oh, and I think I could probably make it at noon or something like that, but we'll be pushing it just a little bit to get there. So I'm excited. That'll be fun.
All right, Matt, have a good rest of your trip. Travel safe. We will talk to you soon.
All right, later.
All right, see you, bud. All right, let's give Lance a call. Let's see if he is available to chat on the old Skype.
Hello, this is Lance Romance on the road picking up. Who is this?
What's up, Lance? It's Jake. How are you, bud?
Hey, Jake. How's it going, Jake? I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. I haven't checked my Find My Friends yet to see where you're at. Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
At the moment, I am about to cross the border from Utah into Idaho.
Whoa.
So, yeah, I am kind of out in the middle of no man's land. Let's hope this signal lasts for a while, because that could be humorous as well.
You've been on the road for over a week now, correct?
It's been 2.5 weeks already.
That long already? Oh, that's right. You weren't here in the studio for the last podcast.
No, I was not.
Are you keeping tabs of how many states you've been in?
I haven't kept. I've kept tabs of how many states I've ridden in, but not how many I've driven through. We've actually ridden in 10 different states over the last 10 days, or over the last 2 weeks. But I don't know how many states we've driven through. It's been a lot. We drove from Portland to all the way to Florida and back, and I took different routes on the way out and on the way back. So it's been a bit of a haul.
What's been your favorite spot thus far?
Oh, Colorado. Something just draws me in about Colorado. I don't know if it's the mountains or if it's the crisp air, or it's all the athletes there, or it's the great riding. I don't know, but Colorado just kind of resonates with me a little bit. I don't think I like it more than the Pacific Northwest, to be honest, but it sure is a pretty cool state. That's for sure.
Did you leave a deposit on a vacation home there by chance?
I may have something here and there.
Nice. So I got a few questions for you.
All right.
And we're just going to kind of run that course today, because you guys are all over the frickin' place. We've got Lance all over the country, and Matt and Evan in Michigan, and I'm just sitting here all by myself, all lonely in the studio. It's all dark and everything, just sipping on my LaCroix.
We miss you, Jake. That's for sure.
It's all good. We'll all be back together soon enough. So we've got sorry about that. I got people trying to call me right now, as always.
Everybody loves Jake.
Oh, my God. My phone. I'm about ready to chuck it out the window. Just start over. Get a new phone number. If you want to call me, you got to know the secret number. Cross season is coming up.
Yes.
Do you have your eyes set on anything? Any sights set on any particular goal this season? What's up?
Well, yeah, I do. I'm racing a new category this year. My cross age is 50, even though I don't turn 50 until next April. But I get to race as a 50-year-old in our OBRA races, because OBRA is mimicking the race age of USA Cycling, which you get to race the age in the year that the season ends. And the cyclocross season doesn't end until February of next year.
Correct.
And so I get to race as a 50-year-old. So it actually solves a big dilemma for me, because I'm a Cat 2 in cyclocross. And I always have this dilemma: do I race the Open 2-3s or do I race the Master 1-2s? Both of those fields I get trounced in. I just got smoked in. And so for me to be able to just race the 50-plus race category just solves a lot of dilemmas for me. So
there's no slouches in there though either. That's just, I think that was like the number 2 field last year in terms of like lap speed.
Yes, we have former national champs in our area. There's fast guys in there. I do feel that I stack up a little better in that field than the other fields, and so I have no illusions that I will win a bunch of races. I think I will have a shot at most races at a top 5 or a top 10, and
Sure.
I might make a few podiums if I'm lucky.
Gotcha.
That's what I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're getting queued up. How many races do you think you'll do this winter, or this fall and winter?
I bet I do at least 20.
Oh my gosh. So races are typically 45 minutes, right?
Yeah, the races are 45 minutes. They're between 40 or 45 minutes, somewhere around there. But in Portland, we have a Tuesday night series, we have a Wednesday night series, and we have a weekend series. So there's 3 different series that I can race. So I can actually race 3 times a week.
Yeah. Well, we actually have 2 weekend series. You've got the GP
Yes.
series to start off, which will feed into the Cross Crusade series, which is the big one.
Yes. So there will be an early weekend series and then a late weekend series with the Cross Crusade, the big one. I'm a little torn on the Cross Crusade series because there's 8 races and 6 of those races are on Sunday, and Sunday races are hard for me. So I'm kind of gearing to try to do better in the early season races than do really well in the Cross Crusade Series races,
Gotcha.
which is a bit of a bummer because that's where all the glory is in the Cross Crusade races. Those are the big ones, but I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Those
See
are
how
big
it
races.
goes.
They're fun and all that stuff. But if you don't get a call up, you're pretty much SOL, correct? I mean, if you're
Correct.
starting in the back and you've got 50, 60, 70 people in there and the courses are tight as they are, you're not going to be finding yourself in the top 10.
No, you won't.
You could be the
And then
fastest
it'll
person
be
in the
really
field.
hard. Yeah.
So
It'll be really hard to even catch or get a call up from there.
I'm already hearing people talking about us winning the team competition for the 2019 season so that we can get the team call-up for all Cross Crusade races in 2020. How do you feel about that?
Well, that would be phenomenal, but that is a very tall order. We do well as a team. We do well in the Cross Crusade series, but Team Deschutes Brewery, they have a lot of racers and they come out big. They show up big time for the Cross Crusade races, and they have juniors and they have a junior program, and I think that will be a difficult team to beat because we have a lot of racers in the lower categories, but not so many in the upper ones. And Team Deschutes is a little more spread throughout all those.
Was Team Deschutes the one that won the team competition last year? I thought it was the Lazy Tarantulas.
It might have been Lazy Tarantulas. You might be right. I know Team Deschutes won like 3 years in a row or something like that.
Gotcha. Well,
but they might have not won last year, so that could be tricky.
We've added quite a few juniors to our team for the 2019 season. We've got more women racing, and we are covering a broader spectrum of different categories. So I think that we've got a fighting chance to go in there and do some damage. It could be interesting to see. So
I would love that. I really would love that. That would be a great thing for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see how that all shakes out. I think that's the only thing that our team hasn't won as a team yet in Obra. So all eyes on that. All right. The people want to know, Lance, will you ever work again? Right.
Will I ever work again?
Yeah.
Well, I hope not. my life is pretty good right now.
Yeah.
I kind of like my life right now.
Well, okay, let me reframe that question. Will you ever voluntarily work again, or are you pretty much done? I mean, will that entrepreneurial spirit inside of you, will that ever rear its head again and draw you back into the working world?
Probably. I probably will. There will be probably something that pulls me back. I mean, really, right now I'm still working, but it's just managing my investments, which only takes 5 or 6 hours a week. It doesn't take 40 hours a week.
Oh, Lance, what are you going to do with yourself, man? Jeez, such a pull on your time.
That's why I've been driving across the country and riding in 10 different states in the last 2 weeks. And So I don't know. If there's a big market turn and I lose a bunch of my investment capital, or then I'll have to go back to work. But but I don't know.
We'll have to put a dentist chair in the back of that van, and you can just be Mr. Mobile Dentist Guy, and then I'll concurrently pull you into working for Dialed Cycling Lab. That could be fun.
I like that.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. For the racing scene, I'm curious, do you have a nemesis? Who's Lance Hepler's arch nemesis?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, I think I have different nemesises in different disciplines.
Sure.
Because, mountain biking, Danny Weichel has just had my number,
Yeah.
So
Had mine
that's
too.
a name that, it's a name that comes up. Road biking, I think one of my nemesises would probably be my teammate Chris Surratt.
Oh no!
But I don't think I could call him a nemesis or a frenemy because we decide beforehand who's working for who. Am I working for you or are you working for me? And it's been a great partnership to have. And
no,
so
hold on, time out.
I'm just as happy to see him win.
Chris,
as he is, I think, to see me do well.
Chris is your nemesis. Let's just shoot straight here. We're going to get back to team training camp. You guys fought each other tooth and nail for those stop sign victories so that you guys could win the sprint victory award for the day. Each day you guys were out there duking it out. That was so fun to watch.
It was one of the funnest things I did all year was those training camp sprints for the stop ahead signs.
Sure.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
So
road racing, though, getting back into it, I mean, if you think about like PR, was there somebody out there where you're constantly duking it out with them?
I was never actually the anointed person at PIR. So
True.
I was always working for somebody else.
True. Yeah.
So and I tried it's kind of funny. I think I'm a decent road racer, but it's like my least successful discipline in biking. I don't have the results to back up my road biking career. And so it was good for me to go in there and always work for somebody else or work for a teammate. And there was 3 or 4 guys that I always had to keep my eye on for sure.
Sure.
Ben, what was Ben's last name?
Snodgrass?
Yes, Ben Snodgrass. He's a triathlete, super strong. Yep. If he tried to go in a move, I tried to follow it. There was Bob Poole, who was a great sprinter that I always kept an eye on, and then he got injured in a bad crash. That was very sad to see. But he is recovering and he's back on his bike.
Good.
I've seen
Awesome.
recently. Yep. So that's been really good. I guess there's a few. Rob Thompson from Growth Cycling. I can't even remember what team he's on. I guess there's a few of them out there, but
all right.
I guess that's it.
How about cyclocross?
Well, I'm in a new group, so I don't know who I'm going to be battling.
You're going to be the young buck, the little kid on the corner there that's going to be throwing stones at everybody, like trying to take their lunch money.
It might be me, yeah. I might have some angry people with me if I start messing with some of the thing. I don't know. There's a couple of big names in the 50 plus category that could be hard.
Sure.
Rick Metz has some big history there. James Otto, those are names. Teammates like Scott Troutman and John Hatfield. Those are strong 50 plus racers. So it all should be interesting.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Gotcha. So you're a known Stravaholic. Let's be honest.
Yes.
What is your most coveted KOM?
Oh boy. I'm not that good of a climber, and I'm always like trying to get better at climbing. I should probably quit eating the junk food and lose like 20 pounds so I could actually climb better. Maybe that's what will happen next year, but who knows? That's a good question. There's 5 or 6 KOMs right around my house that I just feel like I need to own them.
Especially when they have your name in the frickin' title.
I have named a couple myself, and I do have those KOMs, the ones that have my names in them. One of them doesn't because it's too close to the freeway, and people get forgetting to turn off their computers. So there's a couple in there that are going like 56 miles an hour. And
you can go flag those. Make them go away.
Yeah, I could. I know. I haven't dug that deep into it yet. But
gotcha.
So there's a few KOMs around my house that if I lose, I will go back and defend because I just feel like I should own them.
Is there one in particular that you do not own? Not necessarily ones that are in your own backyard, but just in our area in general. Is there one that you want to go out and get that you really have your eyes set on?
There's one. It's Ellsworth Road North. It's about a half-mile climb. It starts almost at my house and goes, up this hill. And I believe you own it, Jake.
Uh-oh. I was wondering if that was one that I might have.
I think I'm 5th on the list. I haven't really taken a good effort at it recently, but that's in the works.
Gotcha.
When the wind is right and I'm feeling pretty good, I'm gonna go for it one of these days.
All right. Well, if I get that email, you better watch out because I'm gonna be back there within hours of getting that just to try and reclaim.
That's what I'm afraid of, and I'm good with that. That's why we have these dumb competitions anyway.
Yeah.
So
It's all good times. All right, so a couple questions for you here on the podcast. If you could have one guest come and join us on the podcast, who would it be?
Lance Armstrong.
I think I've heard somebody else tell me that before.
Why
is that?
He's kind of getting back into the industry. He's such a controversial person because people either love him or hate him, and it's hard to kind of have some middle ground with him. There's just a bunch of questions I would just love to be able to ask of him, and I think having somebody like him would be good exposure for our little podcast as well.
Sure.
So I that's the name that comes to mind immediately. I mean, I've gotten close a few times. I got on his podcast, but
You sure did.
but there was not an opportunity to try to weasel in there, and he's been a pretty busy guy, so I haven't really reached out either. But yeah, so he would be a great guest to have. I also think Phil Guyman would be a great guest to have because he's funny and he is, trying to increase his, media presence as well.
Sure.
Since he's been retired. So I think he'd be a great guest too.
Right.
Those are the two that come to mind.
100% agree with that. Both of those guys would be great. I think Phil would be super entertaining. That guy, he's just got like a really comedic sense about him, and I just love his sensitivities. They're funny. So,
right.
What is a topic that you'd like to tackle on the podcast?
Well, one of the things I always wanted to talk more in depth about certainly was doping in amateur cycling, and we kind of were able to cover that, which is great. The other thing, I think it's always good for us to have some kind of information for beginners or people just starting out in racing, and not just be kind of an elitist racers podcast, but also have information for people that are just beginning or just trying to get into racing, so that there's some education there and try to take some mystique out of bike racing, because I think that can be scary for people. One of the a rewarding thing for me is I've had people there have been Facebook messages or there's been Instagram messages from people who said, after listening to your guys' podcast, I've decided that I think it'd be okay for me to get out there and try to race, once or twice. And
that makes my day to hear that. Even if we did 100 episodes and we just convinced one person to go out and race their bicycle, or one person to go out and just give cycling a shot, I'm a happy camper.
Right. I agree. So that would be a cool thing. That's been a cool thing for me to see that's happened a couple of times, but to continue to foster, people into the racing scene, I think would be even better. So including things for beginners and people with questions about racing and what it really takes to race, I think those would be good things.
Gotcha. If there was one thing that you could either add or take away from the show, it could be anything. Like it could be a segment, it could be just structure, format, or anything. What would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. You want me to critique our own masterpieces, Jake?
Yeah, and I know, and I did not disclose any of these questions to Lance, just so you know. So he's literally on the hot seat right now, having to think on the fly. So I'll ramble on for a second and let him process that. What would you change?
Actually, no. Yeah, something comes to mind. I'd get rid of all the triathlon talk.
Now you're cooking.
No more running talk and swimming talk. I just want to talk about bikes and bike racing and myself. There should be more of me. It should be more Lance.
Oh.
No.
You gotta love the banter. Yep.
I'm joking there a little bit. I think our back pedals can go a little long because we all want to talk about ourselves and what we kind of experienced and what we've been through in the last week. But I'm the one that's the most guilty about all that. So
I just set the bar. I just set the bar last week. Did you hear how fast my back pedal was? I think I went through it in about 30 seconds. So, Yeah, it can be a little long and whatnot, and it's just fun catching up with you guys. And I do like hearing the stories, and I hope everybody else does as well. But that's definitely probably something that we can shorten up a little bit. If they're, 20 minutes is a stretch for us, that's just giving everybody 5 minutes. But if we're rambling on for 45 minutes about stuff that we did in the past week, I don't necessarily know if people are going to want to listen to that, or we're going to have to cue them where they need to fast forward to, so they don't have to listen to us.
Fast forward, yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
That could be very arduous. All right. Anything about the podcast that you want to add before we change gears and go into a few more questions?
No, I don't think so. I think those are a couple things.
Good.
Yep.
Good. All right. I want you to give me some dirt on Matt and Evan.
What do you think I have dirt on those two guys?
Matt talked some serious smack on you guys, so you got to up your game, man. He's like, hey, you better put me last, otherwise these guys are going to just pale in comparison. He's just going to might as well just stop the show right after his segment. So,
well, I tell you, I love Matt to death. He's one of my favorite people in the world. He's somebody I could just hang out with all the time, but I think he's having some difficulty coming to the age where his athletic performance is starting to fade a little bit. Because that definitely happened to me when I hit that 40, 42, 43 age. My ability to recover and to put, the longer sustained power output just dropped. And I think Matt is seeing that. He's having a hard time recovering from a couple of injuries, even before his bike crash. He's been having issues with his Achilles and whatnot.
So basically, you're saying that Matt is old, he's slow,
yeah, Matt is old.
And he's soft, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, goodness. What about Mr. Price?
Mr. Price, let's see. I think he has certainly learned a lot being a professional triathlete this year. And he's getting quite a bit of humble pie at every race he's been doing, which is good. But I still see a little bit of naivety in Evan in the way he sees things, and I think it's just a factor of his age.
We have to remind ourselves that he's 28.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, He's still 20, a puppy,
he's
yeah.
20 years younger than me, which is crazy. But same thing. I can't say anything bad about Evan. I love that guy. So
yeah, he's a great dude.
It's been good.
All right, you're pretty open book. I mean, you kind of put it out there, and everybody knows a lot about you. You share a lot, and your whole life is kind of laid out on the Instagram landscape as well as the Facebook land, if you will. Tell us something that most people don't know about you.
Let's see.
Figured if I put you on the spot, I'd get something good, something juicy. Like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that.
Brandy, what's something people don't know about me that I should tell the whole world?
Oh, Brandy's riding shotgun with you, huh?
She's sitting here next to me. She can't hear you, but
tell her I said hi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that?
I did not.
She says that I'm the same kind of idiot, over the top kind of person at home and with my friends than I am online. I don't have an online personality or a social media personality and a home personality. I'm kind of the same both places.
How does she put up with that, man?
I don't know. It's been a long road. It's long absences. That's how she puts up with it.
Lance, go ride your bike for a week.
That's right. Please go away. Are you leaving soon? Because I need a Lance break.
Yeah, that van. You should go take that van for a drive, Lance. Go take a trip. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
I think you should go take a trip.
Well, I don't really have. Go ahead.
I used to be fat. That's I have struggled with my weight my entire life, my entire adult life. And and I probably didn't post as much, or or share as much when I was bigger. So yeah, I've struggled with the weight. Right now I'm at a decent weight. I'm not even where I want to be right now, but I think that's a lifelong battle.
Well, you got that Hepler focus. We've talked about that before. You've talked about that before. And as soon as you get that hyper-focused Hepler focus going on, dude, you do some serious damage to the old waistline. I mean, I can remember, gosh, what was it? Like going into training camp this past year, you were freaking light. I mean, you were probably, right around 170 pounds?
I was like 178, I think, going into training camp.
Were you lighter than that, though, at some point in time? Weren't you close to like one? I know that you were in the 170s. I just thought you were closer to 170.
Yeah. No, that's about where I was, about 175, 178, I think, for training camp.
What's the most you've ever weighed, if you don't mind me asking?
The most?
Yeah.
Is that 250?
Oh, wow. So, yeah, you've had a huge swing.
I've been a big boy. Yeah.
Who's a big boy?
I was a big boy.
Oh, is Piper there too?
Piper is asleep on the bed in the back, but yes, Piper the Wonder Pup is cruising with us today.
Nice. Cool. You got any questions for me, Lance?
Well, Jake, what's something people don't know about you, or something that I don't know about you, Jake, personally?
I'm boring. I don't know. Yeah, I too have kind of. A lot of people think that you've been a cyclist. You've been a cyclist your whole life. I haven't. I've ridden bikes my entire life. I've been riding bikes since I was just able to walk. I've got pictures of myself riding bikes around wearing nothing but Levi pants, no shoes, no shirt, nothing around it. And I've always had bikes close to me. It's been something that's been near and dear to me. But I used to be. I wouldn't say I was a competitive bodybuilder, but I used to be into bodybuilding. So at one point in time in my life, I weighed about 230 pounds. I used to be able to bench press almost 400 pounds. I used to be able to put 225 pounds on a barbell, and I used to rep it out over 30 times. I could do that no problem.
Oh my goodness! That's impressive.
If you put 225 pounds on a barbell right now and told me to bench press it, I could probably get it off the bar, and then it would come down and it would crush me, and I would probably be halved into two people, and I would not be able to move that. Even before I had the car hit me, it would probably be the same thing. Being a cyclist, I just haven't really cared as much for my upper body strength or whatnot. Sure. And just walking into a gym, I generally gain weight, and that's not conducive to being a cyclist. So, but I've also, the most I've ever weighed was 230 pounds, and I was fluffy. This was right after we got married. I was so busy with work and running a business and not working out, not riding, that I pretty much stopped paying attention to what I was eating. My wife thought she was Betty Crocker and loved to make everything or bake everything that she possibly could, and I wanted to sample all that stuff. So, and it was about that time, shortly after that, I'm like, you know what? I don't like the way that I look. I don't like the way that I feel. Got back on the bike and started training again, and that's it's been pretty much rock solid for about almost 14, 15 years of riding now, and I've just been trying to layer up on that. So,
I love it.
Other than that, I mean, again, I'm not like a super interesting person. I'm just passionate about cycling, and I want to give back, and just love hanging out with you guys. And I love the life that I have. I have no gripes, no complaints.
I like it, Jake. That's a good answer.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, what's your plan? You're heading off to do Rebecca's Private Idaho?
Yeah, so there is a 3-day stage race, gravel race, Rebecca's Private Idaho, based out of Sun Valley, Idaho. I'm actually not. I'm headed there today. The race starts on Thursday morning. It's Tuesday now when Jake and I are having this conversation. I'm actually only going to do the first stage and the second stage. I'm not going to do the last stage because I am going to dash home and do that first David Douglas cyclocross race on Saturday morning. That's my plan. Now, if I get here and I do super good on the first two stages and I'm like in the top 10, I very well may stay and finish out the stage race.
Or scenario 3, come do David Douglas, get back in the car and drive back out there. Is that a possibility too?
That is another possibility because Saturday there's no actual stage. I could do David Douglas and drive back out to Idaho to do the last stage, but
not for nothing.
It's at least
Is there an airport that's nearby? Could you fly out there instead of having to leg it all the way back out there?
Yeah, there is. It would, just cost me a fortune to do that, but that's possible.
Yeah.
But I don't know. So
stay tuned. Find out what Lance did on the next podcast.
It's a 9-hour drive between Sun Valley, Idaho and Portland. So to do that, twice in a 2-day stretch could be rough, and try to race.
Yeah.
I probably would race like crap, but
what time is your race at David Douglas?
It's at 11:40 in the morning or something like that.
So theoretically, you could be done and back on the road by what, 2:30? So
yeah.
That would have you. We'll say 3:00 you get out. So yeah, that 9-hour drive, that would be rough. There's not a lot of room for recovery in there, even though you're just sitting there. Maybe if Brandy came with you, you could pay her a few bucks to drive the van, and you could sleep in the back with Piper and get your recovery in.
That's a possibility, and she's here with me, but she doesn't drive real good at night. She doesn't have real good night vision, so I try to do the driving at night.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But she said that's part of the adventure.
She just told her to drive by Braille, find the little dots in the middle of the road, just bump, down the road. There you go. Cool. All right, Lance, I'm gonna let you get back to driving with your bride there and your dog, and wish you all the best when you're out racing at Rebecca's Private Idaho. Keep the rubber side down, and we will see you on Saturday.
Thanks, Jake. We'll see you Saturday.
All right, man. Have a good one. Drive safe.
All right.
See you,
Thanks,
Lance.
bud.
Bye. All right. Last but not least, let's give that Evan Price guy a call.
Hello?
Mr. Evan Price, it's Jake from the Dialed Podcast. How are you?
Oh man, this is interesting. This is I am not at my seat. I'm not prepared in any way. This is a very special call right now. What's up, Jake from the Dial Podcast?
Not much, but how you doing? Well, it's just as much your podcast as it is my podcast. So this is Jake from our podcast giving you a shout. What's up, dude?
Yeah, not too much.
Cool. Hey, I'm calling you on Skype right now, and I'm wondering if we would have a better connection if I were to call you on a landline, but I'm just going to roll with it because you're on Skype and everybody else was on Skype, so keep it fair.
Let's go with it.
Cool. We're not doing back pedals today, but I want to know, how did that race go this past weekend?
Yeah, that's actually what I just flying back. That's, I'm sure, why we're doing these calls is I was, traveling back from the race here from Traverse City, Michigan. First and foremost, that city is absolutely incredible. Absolutely love that city. That race should hopefully go back to there for a long time. But yeah, I had a good race, a lot better than the race I'd had in Colorado. Had a good day overall. Was at least in the race all day, but it was a pretty stacked field. So I was, I think, 20th out of the 26 or 27 guys that started, but it was still a good day. So biked and ran really well, and the swim was going well until I kind of got cut off from the mid pack, but definitely still a much better swim than what I did in Boulder. So
good.
Things are improving. The fitness definitely showed that I think I got some good fitness going to the last race of the year in 2 weeks. So
good.
Yeah, 2 weeks, and then I'm wrapping up the season in Santa Cruz.
How are you feeling for that?
I'm feeling very good. I actually even training today even, and basically right back into it. It was no real break after this race. So
nice. I know that you loved that race last year, and you get to do it this year as a pro. And I think it was last year when you finished that race, that's when you decided to take your pro card, correct?
Yep. That was actually when I qualified for it, was at that race. So that, I think it'll be a great comparison race, which is why I'm excited to do it.
Good. Yeah, I'm curious.
I think it'll be a good way to see over a year, how the fitness has developed.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see exactly how your numbers stack up against each other. Were the conditions pretty favorable last year?
Yeah, they were definitely favorable conditions. I don't think the wind played too big of a role on the bike, and the wind in the past has played a role on the bike. So we'll see how that plays this year. But regardless, this is the best bike of fitness I've had in a very, very long time. So I've got a lot of confidence going into this race.
Gotcha. Well, this dovetails right into my first question for you. What has been the one moment that stands out the most for you in your first full season as a professional triathlete?
The one moment, I would say, I would actually say it was really my very first race in Galveston, Texas. There was a moment where I was kind of heading down from down. It was a long out and back course, as I described on an earlier podcast. So it was, going out on the bike, you're going to see the leaders coming back at you. And really the moment that kind of stuck out to me, just realizing kind of the level that I was competing at and how far away I was from that level, was watching Andrew Starkowitz hammering back on the back and back on the bike from the turnaround in the lead. There was just this kind of moment. I remember I kind of picked up my head and it was weird seeing him in the race. A guy that I had watched on NBC for years with the Kona Ironman World Championships. It's just kind of that surreal moment when you realize, like, oh wow, that's what real speed looks like. and it was some real speed he was flying that day. So yeah.
That's excellent.
I think that first moment was pretty shocking there.
Yeah, we all kind of talked. We weren't talking behind your back or nothing, but we're like, he's supposed to have this first season. He's not supposed to go out there and crush, and he's not supposed to go out there and feel like he's the man. He needs to have these teachable moments, these like humbling moments. And you've definitely alluded to the fact that you've had some of those, but I think on the whole, you've done quite a bit better than everybody was expecting. So you've had a great season. And we're all super proud of you, dude.
I really do appreciate that, and I think you nailed on the head there, Jake. This was going into the season. I think you kind of you set lofty goals for yourself, but I was so ready to get humbled, and in a good way. I think it's like the same thing when you decided you were going to start really doing road racing in the Cat 1, 2, 3. Last season, it's like you have that kind of.
Oh no, we lost Evan. Hold on a second here. We're going to try and call him back. All right, we've got Evan back here. Sorry about that, Evan. So pick up where you left off.
Good, don't worry. Just put that on my tab. I talked for an extra 5 minutes after that anyway. So, but yeah, I was just, it's going from that being kind of at the top of a field, whether that's amateur triathlon or in cycling would be like being in the Cat 4, 5 field. Let's say you're the guy who is making moves and kind of dominating races. It was a fun experience this year to jump from that to really getting my butt absolutely handed to me at times. And that's, I think was an important thing to do this year. And I was excited with it. As the season's coming to a close, I know exactly what I need to work on. And I think I can compete at this level, which is an exciting thing to know, whether you go and absolutely dominate your first year as a pro or not. I think everybody gets humbled. I doubt there's very few guys out there who going into their first year as a pro, did exactly what they thought they were going to do. So, I've been excited with it, and I think I've been decently consistent outside of one rough race at altitude. So, going into Santa Cruz, I've been seeing improvements all year, and I kind of hope to continue to see that. So.
Yep. Excellent. Cool. All right. Let's jump into a few questions here that I have for you. What's a topic that you want to have us do on the podcast that you can just completely geek out on? What's that one that you want to really just tackle?
Oh, it's especially after this season. It's the Kona World Championships and the 70.3 World Championships.
So basically you're saying you want to do a triathlon takeover.
Oh, just a triathlon takeover. That is, if we did that this year, just having raced some of these guys now and being a little bit more inundated and kind of, studying the pro field a little bit more. Oh, I've got some fun Kona takes, and I think I got mad on a couple of them. I think my picks will be solid this year.
So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you and Matt the keys to the studio. I'm going to jump in the van with Lance and go do some crazy ride somewhere. You guys have at it. Knock yourself out. I know we're going to come back to like a 5-hour show.
We'll have 6 episodes lined up by the time you guys get back from your ride. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. What are you going to key in on for 2020? What are maybe your 3 key points that you really want to really peck on those things the most?
So I am going to, and I've really already started this process in the pool, but I'm going to swim like a swimmer. I'm going to, this last year, going into this year, I started training like a runner, running with runners, really focusing on that perspective. And now it's time for me to really train like a true swimmer. And that's going to be my main focus. I'm going to get number 2 would definitely be like high quality bike work this off season. So, getting a little bit more active with Zwift. I'm probably going to Zwift this offseason with our powerhouses on the team, Nate, Mike Ivan, Tonk, and all those guys. So I think that just really keying in on Zwift for high quality power workout
Sure.
this off season, and then really just loving running again. And I mean, I've been loving running this season, but getting onto the trails, running long, really starting to train for the marathon distance. That's kind of the three keys this off season, I'd say.
Gotcha. Yeah, I look forward to riding with you this off season as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this past year, I've really obviously just been trying to get back into myself, and I told myself at the beginning of the season, I'm not here to race, I'm not here to be competitive, I'm just here to kind of have fun and really just get re-familiarized and reacquainted with my bike. And I have had to constantly remind myself of that throughout the year because I'm just kind of a shadow of my former self. But going into the 2020 season, I need to start taking things a bit more seriously, and the training program is going to kick off in about October, and I'm looking forward to doing some of that work with you. So it should be fun to jump on some rides.
I was going to say, I will absolutely jump on the Jake high quality biking training plan. I need to jump on whatever you're on. So
yeah, it'll be fun. Regarding the podcast, if you could have one guest, just any guest, join us on the podcast, who would said guest be?
Andrew Starkowitz, the guy I mentioned earlier from the Galveston race.
Gotcha.
Just because he is he's coached by a guy who owned a bike shop who I worked at for years and was a great family friend, Bob Duncan. So I'll tell you what, if Starkowitz goes out and has a good Kona race, I would absolutely love to pick his brain on the podcast.
Okay.
But I do have a close second.
Who's that?
I would love to have Chris Serrett on the podcast too.
Hey, there you go. That's a good one.
Just from a local perspective, I mean, the few conversations me and Chris have had together, he's a super interesting, nice guy, and just I think the season that he's had this year, I think from a local perspective, it would just be really cool to recap that with him and kind of go through, how he trained and how he put this year together.
I've got a new nickname for him, by the way. Clark Kent.
One more time. What was it?
Clark Kent.
Clark Kent. Yes.
Dude, the dude is friggin' Superman. The stuff that he does on the bike just blows my mind. And it's like every weekend it's like, all right, what 150 mile, 200 mile, 100 mile ride adventure are you going on? And it's not an adventure. It's a freaking race. And he's going out there and he's podiuming them on these like ridiculous courses.
Yep.
His story is spectacular, and I think that he would be a great person to have on. And he's probably one of the nicest people you'll meet to boot. So it's that's a really good call. If you had to pick a third, I'm just curious if there was a third, like a big ass baguette.
The other one for me is Chris Hannell, just because of the medical perspective from him. I'd love to talk like time management with him, how he did it, this year too. I mean, really, when you're looking at the team,
sure.
I mean, like my guy Van Nate Scott, Tonk, just killed it this year, great. But really for the not to call them old, but a little bit older professionals, I think it's cool to see how they balance their own professional life with amateur bike racing and really becoming two of the strongest guys in the region.
Gotcha. And if there was one last one, like the big get, like the near impossible get, who would it be?
Cool, Lance Armstrong.
I was baiting you to say that the whole time, and the reason why I ask is
I would love to get. Oh my God, if we could get Stage's podcast or get or not Stage's, his Lance's podcast on
there. The Move,
incredible. The Move,
Yeah, the reason why I say that is because I asked Matt and I asked Lance, and without even hesitating, they both said Lance Armstrong. I'm like, really? I would expect that from Evan, but not from you guys. And here you are giving me all these other great people, but I was expecting you to fanboy out on me. So
if you say shoot for the moon, that's going to be the first name. Yeah.
Well, I think we will come up with a hashtag of getting him on the podcast, and we will start pinging him and tagging him in some stuff just to see if we can at least turn his head in our direction. That'd be friggin' awesome.
That would be.
Yeah.
That'd be absolutely incredible.
Cool. A couple other just real quick questions, and I know that you got to get going, so just feel free to let me know because I know that you got to get back to patients and whatnot. Give me some dirt on Matt or Lance, or kind of tell me something that you don't think people know about them, or just something. Just kind of give me a little poke a little bit here.
On Lance, it was some dirt on Lance and Matt. Let's go with Lance on this one. Lance once, oh God, what was it? Lance was, Lance's number one thing that we had asked him like dental advice a while ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, and I remember that conversation.
And the thing that he had said, which I just scratched my head at, but I thought it was hilarious that he had talked about this, was that like flossing no, that brushing your teeth without toothpaste was just as effective as brushing your teeth with toothpaste.
I've actually dropped that on a few people and like, what?
Yeah.
Like a dentist told me that. He's like,
That
it is
was-
better to use, he's like, it's better to use toothpaste, but you don't need it. It's like 90% effective to do it
Yeah.
without or something like that. Yeah, that
I'm
was,
not even sure if that's dirt, but I just remember that Lance had said that, and I was like, oh wow, that's actually pretty wild.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that.
yeah.
And I was like, I was thought that was doing a little bit more. So then I had to really rethink like buying toothpaste and stuff.
Yeah, it's like those commercials too. Like 9 out of 10 dentists agree that this toothpaste is the best. Well, Lance is that one that says you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt. Well, Matt's thing is Matt way underplays too, like how good he is actually at coding. This is not good. I'm like complimenting both of them. I have dirt. I just like not off the top of my head. I go for the compliments first. But yeah, he like Matt's work schedule. I think people kind of don't realize how crazy his work schedule is sometimes. He'll go time periods where it's calm, but then I mean we remember that time period where he was at Nike for like 7 days straight or something, 6 or 7 days.
Yeah,
straight.
and it was like 16-hour days or just something insane.
I mean,
Like he almost like slept there. Yeah.
18-hour days. Yeah, and then here's some dirt on him. When he's there, from what he told me, he eats and drinks super unhealthy. He lives like a college kid trying to finish his like essay, his like final essays. He's like, oh yeah, I'm like surviving off of Monsters and Snickers while I'm there.
There you
I'm
go.
not sure if he actually was. That was what I was surviving off at that time. But yeah, he definitely lives a very unhealthy lifestyle for those time periods.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right. I know that you got to get back. You got a few seconds here. You got to get going.
Probably got to get going. Got a few patients to get to, but we will all catch up in this next week, which I cannot wait for. It's going to be good to have everybody back in the office.
Gotcha. Well, unless you got some questions for me, I will let you go.
Nope, I gotta head out, but I will definitely be grilling everybody when I get back here.
Sounds good, Evan. Man, you take care. Congratulations
Yep.
again on a great race, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you guys. Hey,
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you, man.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. And see, I told you it was much better than listening to me ramble on. And another thing, if you've got some feedback for us, we really do want to hear from you. Shoot us a message. You can use our email addresses, all of our first names, Jake, Lance, Matt, and Evan, @Dial Podcast. You can reach out to us on Facebook. Go to @Dial Podcast, and you'll be able to direct message us there, or you can direct message us on Instagram as well. That's @Dial Podcast. We would love to hear from you. We want to know, do you like the show? Is it too long? Is it too short? Do you want to have any kind of special guest on? Another thing coming up, too, is we still plan on having guest listeners come on. It's going to be about a 3 or 4 minute little segment. We're going to do a little quick Q&A, a little hot seat, if you will. And we want to connect with you guys. It's just going to be a fun way for us to continue to build community like we mentioned we want to be doing. Other than that, we really do thank you for listening. We appreciate it. Matt and Evan and Lance, I hope you guys all travel safe, and we will be back in the studio next week. You guys have a good one. Bye for now.